Good afternoon, Patriots, and welcome to another edition of Quarantime. I want everyone in the chat to know how much I appreciate each and every one of you. Single-handedly, as a group, this movement has pushed our country farther from the disgusting creature we had become than I had ever thought possible. Setting us free. That is the movement. Michael Kenny and NC3, thank you both for your memberships. Thank you to everyone in the chat for being kind and respectful. Keep in mind that humor is sometimes not easily conveyed in a text message. So be nice to each other, guys. I really appreciate it. As always, I'm your host, RP, and joining me, my good friend, my co-host, M3. We've got so much good stuff to go over today. Thank you to my mods. Thank you to my girl. Thank you to my mom. Thank you to God for bringing us this moment. We are making history. General Flynn is going to be exonerated. The presence of these documents proves it. Please, everyone, do sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. Panic is highly contagious, especially in situations when nothing is known and everything is in flux. Well, the world we live in today is in flux, and it's filled with a flood of information that's often as much gossip as fact. Now, that makes it hard to know what the situation really is, and it also makes it easy for people to panic and make bad decisions. The only way not to get caught up in that chaos is to have a plan allowing you to avoid dealing with empty store shelves, long lines, and in the worst case, desperate people. Use today to prepare. A great place to start is storing food in your home, and I'm prepared myself, and I even ordered more recently. Now, the experts at My Patriot Supply have told me that orders have now reached about 100 times the normal volume, and they're shipping on a first-come, first-served basis. With this unprecedented emergency, orders are being delayed, sometimes 8 weeks or more. I urge you to add your order to mine today, because the sooner you order, the sooner you can get your purchase. Take action so you're ready for what's coming and save $70 on a 2-week emergency food kit when you go to my special website, preparewithredpill78.com. Those that know what's coming are preparing today. Go to preparewithredpill78.com. Once again, that's preparewithredpill78.com. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. Free General Flynn. It is happening, guys. How is everybody doing today? I am so excited. We've got so much amazing stuff to talk about. Methods, how are you feeling?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm excited. I'm so excited I couldn't even get the mute to undo. No, I'm definitely excited about all the news. Even the news that's breaking while the show's starting is just great. So yeah. Hope the chat's ready for this. We're glad you're hanging out with us.
We are so incredibly blessed. Obviously, the biggest news of the day is the declassification of exculpatory evidence proving that not only is General Flynn innocent, but the FBI conspired to use the power and the might of the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the government of the United States of America to try to destroy a 33-year combat veteran, a 3-star lieutenant general. Michael Flynn is an American hero. Michael Flynn allowed himself to be sacrificed for the time being so that we could save this country. I guarantee you, friends, General Flynn knew exactly what he was getting into. I'm sure that he saw the writing on the wall, and knowing what he was planning to do, he probably anticipated it. Methods, there's a bunch of different things that we're going to be talking about today, and I just wanted to get the introduction out of the way so that people know we are definitely going to be discussing Michael Flynn. But he's not the only news today, you know? I mean, there is other things happening. The world continues to turn in spite of this situation we find ourselves in today.
Yeah, right. I mean, we're definitely excited because we've had nothing but wall-to-wall coverage of the Kung Flu for months, and then having news about Flynn and the news that we want to hear about Flynn coming out being what kind of helps change that narrative, or at least take over some of that news happening, is definitely exciting. I hear you, man. But what do you want to talk about first?
Well, you know, I mean, definitely the news about Flynn, it's like an intellectual sorbet. I've had just overload on CV19, and it is just such a wonderful change of pace to get that going on. I think we should talk about the development coming out from Israel. Israel's largest bank, it's called Bank Hapoalim, admitted to conspiring with U.S. taxpayers to hide assets and create offshore accounts. You know, I mean, that is a touchy one right there. There is a lot of people who might do banking in Israel, but, I mean, they're kind of a nationalist nation. I wonder if it is all different creeds of Americans, or if it is, you know, if they're protecting the certain class that basically, you know, makes up the bulk of Israel. They have some troublesome laws and regulations over there. I've seen some really horrific things happen. If you are a member of the tribe and you commit a crime here in America, you can go and claim sanctuary in Israel. That's definitely something that I believe should be looked at. But apparently, if you're a member of the tribe, you can also go there and request sanctuary for your money if you want to hide it from the American government and deprive the American taxpayer of the taxes that, you know, unfortunately, we are obligated to pay. Now, whether or not that is lawful in and of itself, that's an argument for another time. But as it stands right now, hiding your money in offshore accounts is an illegal act. And it looks like the U.S. Department of Justice is taking action on it.
Right. Yeah. No, the Deputy Attorney General Rosen was involved in this, and it's also an interesting note that the Southern District of New York is involved in this as well. But apparently, they were hiding more than $7.6 billion in over 5,500 secret Swiss and Israeli bank accounts. I'm dropping the link, the link in the chat right now. This is said to be the second. Where did I see that? Today's resolution is the second largest recovery by the Department of Justice in connection with its investigations since 2008, which is big. That's a big deal. And they paid out $875 million for deferred prosecution.
So when they say $875 million for deferred prosecution, is that the bank itself that's paying that out? I mean, because I would imagine that if they're, you know, looking at specific accounts owned by American citizens, there's going to be additional monies that must be paid off of that, and potentially some additional prosecutions.
Right. Now, this would be just the facilitating bank itself, is how I read it. So, yeah, wow. They have to pay $875 million, but I'm curious on where those paper trails go as far as what happens individually. But this is a big bust that's happened. And if they're already to deferred prosecution point, then we're finding out about this later on in the game. Yeah. So we'll see if anything else comes out of this specifically. We don't know if we'll ever be able to connect it. But, yeah, the fact that they got the bank itself and offshore stuff, it's great. This is a big win.
You know, I'm immediately reminded of the multiple posts, Saving Israel for Last. Follow the money, and you can get to the people who are committing the crimes. So if people who are criminal actors, transnational criminal organizations, which we know people of all religions are a part of, if they are hiding even a portion of their monies in these accounts right here, then this could be something that's facilitating something much larger and much darker than is immediately provable. This is probably going to lead to a lot more information coming out. I have to believe that the people who are actually hiding their money are probably feeling not too comfy right now. They're going to get their own charges. They're going to get their own fines and fees and back taxes and interest, all of that stuff. But the actual perpetrators, the actual American citizens hiding their money in these banks, they are going to have to pay the piper pretty handily. And I have to believe that it's going to lead to the exposure of other crimes, the exposure of other things. And I also think it's interesting to note that it's a joint operation between Israeli and Swiss banks. I mean, just a couple of years ago, we had the Swiss banking system open up and admit that they had been hiding money for many, many Americans and people from all different countries.
Right, and also on the point of Israel for last, I've been catching some chatter on like Twitter and stuff by like the lefty MSM and those talking heads over there, and they're trying to paint this new narrative and to see if it sticks on Trump-Israel collusion. I'm still going to dig into it more. I'm just starting to see the conversation happen. Like they're going to try to make this another picture to paint about collusion and Trump.
Yeah.
So the fact that that's going on, that they're trying to hide their own stuff in connections to Israel or whatever with this stuff. So we'll see, but it is interesting timing that I'm seeing the name Israel more than once pop up in situations.
Yeah. So it says from at least 2002 until at least 2014, the bank conspired with employees, U.S. customers, and others to defraud the United States with respect to taxes, file false federal tax returns, and commit tax evasion. Employees of the banks assisted U.S. customers in concealing their ownership and control of assets and funds held at the bank, which enabled those U.S. customers to evade paying taxes. Now, what they did, they actually helped them open and maintain accounts in the names of pseudonyms, code names, trust accounts, and offshore nominee entities. Someone in the chat said, what if it's ill-gotten gains? I would say that this is more than likely plenty of ill-gotten gains. Let's say you're an international trafficker of some sort. And you've just got piles and piles of money. You can't just leave a warehouse full of money just, unattended. You got to do something with that money. At a certain point, it begins to mold. It begins to rot. Mice start chewing on it. Rats start burrowing in it. And then it's no good for anybody. So you have to have some place to put it. You have to be able to launder it. I'm wondering if there's any connection here, too, with the Panama Papers, because that was all about illegal international banking as well and the creation of these shell companies and such. Very, very interesting stuff, guys. There could be many, many arrests that arise from this. This is really a big deal right now, especially considering what we're seeing happen.
Right, and sorry to cut you off, but to drag the waters point here, look up Congress dual citizenship with Israel. Mm-hmm. That's a thought about it too. I mean, he's talking about warehouses full of cash and stuff, but I'm also thinking, what about politicians with tax money? Mm-hmm. Good point there. Definitely something to keep in mind because of the connection, because this is talking about the biggest bank.
Right.
There would be if it just happened to be a bank, some kind of connection, that's one thing. This is the top of the top for Israel doing this and having no problem with it.
It's not some savings and loan or a small credit union. This would be like Chase Manhattan being found out for hiding money for, the worst people in the world. Now, Brian Murphy keeps touching on the idea that General Flynn might be our favorite Anon. This is definitely something we've considered in the past. I am always of the opinion, however, that it's not just a single individual. This is a group of individuals. We have a theory on who we think are involved, at least some of the players. We have a theory on the genesis of this. I think it's going to be something we need to speak about on a different program, but I just want to let you know, Brian, that we think you're on the right track. Let's see. So please go to Shiva for Senate and sign the Fire Fauci petition. Almost at 100,000. Love your show. Thanks, KS220. I should mention that there was a distressing article that came out yesterday by, Robert Kennedy Jr., one of the big names in the vaccine movement. And Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was said in there that I think I would maybe like to try to give Dr. Shiva an opportunity to address publicly. I don't know. I'm kind of wondering how to handle it because, I mean, I realize that nobody's perfect, but there were some really damaging revelations that came out of that article. Crypto Mother X, love to all, God bless the USA, discuss executive order ordering selected reserve of the armed forces to active duty and May Day proclamation. What a coincidence. That's what's next on the docket. Berserker Bear Buffalo Dustin says, Quarantime gravy, Rogan's up, compatriots. Thank you, Berserker Bear. And KS220, thank you for that as well. All right, well, I think that's an excellent way to segue into the executive order. So I want to show you guys the text of the letter that President Trump sent to Nancy Pelosi in regards to that executive order. Let me just increase the size of this real quick. So Methods found this and sent it over earlier, and he addresses her as Dear Madam Speaker, and then in parentheses, he says, Dear Mr. President. I thought that was a hilarious troll because you see here, you've got what is that, a semicolon or a colon? I don't know which one that is, but it's the two dots. Somebody will know in the chat if you're a grammar person. And then at the end, because he includes it, and then he has the parentheses, there's a smiley face at the end of it. So I think President Trump is trolling Nancy Pelosi here, but he says, effective today, pursuant to Section 12304 of Title 10 United States Code, I am authorizing the Secretary of Defense to order units and individual members of the selected reserve to active duty to augment active component forces for the effective conduct of enhanced Department of Defense counter-narcotic operation in the Western Hemisphere. This authority is necessary to ensure the Department of Defense can properly conduct operations required to meet our evolving security challenges. And then he includes the actual text of the executive order. So, Methods, it sounds to me like this is an extension of the work that President Trump was speaking about just a couple of weeks ago, activating our Navy and other armed forces specifically to combat the narco trafficking coming out of Venezuela.
Right. And what else he needs to use them for, he has them available. He just has to let, I guess, give her, a heads up, part of the rules, and then he has to renew things as it expires from the previous executive order stuff. So it is exciting to have them active during these times because, like I said, they could be used for other things as well.
Yeah.
He just has to let them know that they're active. It's definitely interesting.
I mean, it also calls to mind all of the military activity we've been seeing and tracking over the country for, the last several months, if not the last couple of years. I mean, there seems to be an uptick. President Trump is, not afraid of using the military in a way that perhaps other presidents, were against. Stopping the flow of narcotics and people is a huge part of President Trump's agenda. And it's a huge aspect of how we're going to be able to make America great again. This is big news, guys. And I would love to hear from you guys what you think President Trump could be using this military for. I can also think of a couple of other things. Of course, it would be just awesome to see troops on the streets of Washington, D.C. That would be the most incredible thing. There's probably a lot of other things. But so did I hear that right? It sounds like these troops are replacing the position from the ones that were already pulled away to combat the narco stuff, or is this just something that needs to be done because we've got those people being used in some other situation?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm still reading into it, and I'm dropping the EO here in the live chat so you guys can have it. Mm-hmm. But it is allowing them to be activated for 365 days, up to a year. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we'll look more into it, but it sounds about right.
All right. And anybody in the chat who's dealing with anything, just want to let you guys know we're glad you're here with us. I've seen a couple of different people saying that they were praying for other people, but I didn't see what the reason was. I saw that someone has suffered a loss. So, you know, I'm glad you're here, and I hope that we can help make your day just a little bit better. I know that nothing is going to bring back, you know, people that we lose in our lives, but I also do believe that once they leave this earth, they go on to somewhere better. So I hope that can give someone a little bit of comfort. Let's see. Red Pills Warhawk said, because I love y'all. Love you too, brother. Thank you very much. Yeah, so Dave California, or Dave CA, says, I like Dr. Shiva, but he's railing on JFK or RFK Jr. It does seem to be like a bit of a, you know, a blow by blow. They're going at each other. And I read the article yesterday, and then I saw very late before I went to bed just the very beginning of a video that Dr. Shiva had done with some other people, and he was, you know, calling RFK the big R word. I don't know. Okay, so Dr. Buttar is also involved in this. Dr. Shiva and Dr. Buttar have been beefing over RFK Jr. Man, I need to do more investigating on it. I read that article, but I need to see what Dr. Shiva's response is. And then I know a lot of people have told me that we need to get Dr. Buttar here, but I still haven't had the time to watch a video. I am going to be leaving after this video. I'm going to be going to visit Real Red Pill Girlfriend, so I'll have some time to watch something, or rather listen to it as I'm driving. But Methods, I completely forgot to talk to you about this before the show, but I need to take Monday off. And I'm sorry to just drop it on you like this, but my intention was to announce it to the audience as well. And I was so caught up in the news that I forgot to mention it to you.
It's fine, but we had already had conversations about potentially having to have a day off or two next week. So that's fine. You know, we'll take Monday off. Not a big deal. We'll miss everybody here, but we'll be with everybody the night before. We also need to let people know we're still working out the details. But on Comfy Sunday, we're having Dave from X22 report on. But at our regular scheduled time, Trump is doing some kind of town hall thing during the exact 2 hours that we do that show. So we're reaching out to Dave to work out a schedule. It might change. It'll either happen, preferably either before our time for 2 hours or after the time for 2 hours. So just be on the lookout for that. I'm sure we'll cover it over the weekend once we work it out. But we just want to let everybody know. Yeah, for sure. We're super excited about Dave from X22 Report coming here. He's a brilliant brilliant mind. I mean, he makes incredible videos. Very, very honored that he would accept our invitation to come hang out with us. So really, really looking forward to that. All right, now I think the next thing we should talk about is these new Christopher Steele revelations. He's dropped additional details about the dossier and people that were involved in it. What's going on? Right, yeah, let me drop this article as well in the chat. The highlights of it is that he's basically throwing people from the Obama administration under the bus a little bit during that deposition that he was going on. But the highlights of this one at the top is that he testified in March that former State Department officials and longtime Clinton ally contacted him in the summer of 2016. Dates are important, about the dossier itself. And he named names too, because he said, and we found this interesting in the pre-show. We were talking that he said Steele, who was testifying in the UK as part of the defamation lawsuit against him, said that Talbot indicated he had learned about Steele's Trump-related work from either State Department official Victoria Nuland or National Security Advisor Susan Rice. So the fact that he just said "or," they both have to be questioned about it. So, we found that interesting about the situation. But there's more and more that they're bringing from that case that he's dealing with into the limelight, because it all plays together, right? Yeah, and it is extremely strange that he wouldn't remember if it was Victoria Nuland or if it was Susan Rice. Now, regardless of who it is, both are high-level administration officials in Renegade's administration. They have very different looks, I will say that. I don't know how you could get them confused, but they are both high up in the administration. Now, either way, whichever one told Steele that they were aware of it, whichever one talked to Talbot about the dossier,
it's of no consequence. I mean, they are both high enough where if they had the information, they would have already been speaking to Renegade about it. And I would imagine that they probably learned about it in an initial meeting where they were deciding what to do and how to proceed with removing the president from office, or, should he become the president, President Trump.
Right. And real quick, Brian Schnur, I don't want to say that wrong. Brian out there is asking, when is X22 on? It's on our show on Comfy Sunday, this Sunday. It's supposed to be 7 p.m. Eastern. Time might change. Just be on the lookout on this channel and on our social media. But also, I to the point about him naming either one of them, that would indicate to me that he had plenty of conversations with both of them if he was confused.
Yes.
So they would be, what were they needing to talk to him about so much? That's the administration. This is during the election year. That would be potential collusion, right?
Oh, yeah. And, the other thing about it is that Talbot and Carter Page were close. He says Strobe Talbot is someone who I had long known and respected. The new evidence revealing that he and his colleagues from the Brookings Institution got involved in this severe election interference campaign with the DNC-funded dodgy dossier truly shocks the conscience. And to your point, if he can't remember which one he was talking about, he must have had many conversations about this subject with them over, a good length of time, I would imagine. He's not, if it was me and somebody high level in the State Department or someone high level in the NSA, essentially the right hand of Renegade, came up to me, you're going to remember exactly who it was. But the truth of the matter is he probably spoke to both of them about it on many occasions, and he just can't remember which one told him first because he just talked about it so much.
Right.
All right. So I think it's time to move on to General Flynn.
Well, then it's a perfect time for the mid-show reminder. We've got 4,200 people roughly here hanging out with us. I see 1.2 thousand likes. If you can turn that thumb blue if you like what you're hearing, we appreciate you guys being here. I also want to thank everybody who's shown up in my PayPal. I really appreciate it. I'd like to shout out to the mods. And man, let's keep going. We're going to talk about Flynn now, so it's exciting times.
Yes, and Jojo, thanks for dropping that link for the PayPal. Appreciate you. Okay, so Sidney Powell was speaking on a radio program. Looks like WIBA. I don't know where that is, but this is from BizPack Review. Methods was able to get this, and it tells us exactly what General Flynn was going to be doing. And it gives us a lot of insight into why they needed to remove him. Let's take a listen.
So we have the Russia speech as a pretext to investigate Flynn. Flynn being particularly dangerous because he knew where the bodies were buried, and he had a very Trump friendly view of foreign policy. He also could have been dangerous in being able to be direct, accurate, and highly critical of the previous administration, the Obama administration. And
he was going to audit the intel
and he was going to audit
because he knew about the billions Brennan and company were running off books.
That's an excellent point, because then he potentially was going to expose Brennan for the sleazebag snake that he has been since he has been in government. So potentially Brennan gets run up the flagpole if General Flynn is allowed to advise President Trump in the capacity that he would have were he not sidelined. Okay. So
All right, so huge revelation right there. We already knew that General Flynn was planning to neuter the intelligence apparatus in Washington, D.C., downgrade the National Security Council, put a stranglehold on all of the intelligence operatives that were essentially running Washington, D.C., the heart of the swamp, the heart of the blackmail apparatus, and now specifically learning that he was going to audit the intelligence agencies to go after people for these black budget programs. Guys, all of these programs that people talk about that they don't admit, like the gang stalking, the off-books surveillance of people, this is how they do it. She said billions, but I would say it's probably in the hundreds of billions, if not more. Imagine.
Right, and I'm going to drop the link that's got the full interview embedded in it so you guys can have that, because it is fascinating. But that point right there is what this article is talking about, because, of course, plays into the same topic we've been talking about recently, the intent of doing these things. You have to prove intent, and you have to prove the crime. to put those two together, for these indictment type things. Well, if he was willing to do those things, and his lawyer would know that, to audit the off book stuff by Brennan and the clowns, and of course it would have been approved or at least turned the other way by the Obama administration, but more than likely they had their strings all over it. If he was willing to go through and audit that stuff, that means it would be brought to light, right?
Mm-hmm,
like
absolutely.
it would have to be done that way. So they had to target, because it was for, and I'm not justifying it for them, but what would panic them is that if that gets brought to light, that whole idea of these black ops situations with clowns doing all these different things with our taxpayer money, no less, it would be anarchy real quick, and their lives would be definitely in danger. Because we're talking about breaking every law in the book.
Yes.
So the fact that he was willing to do this, and she's saying that, safe bet he still wants to complete that mission.
Yes.
So that's why part of this exoneration, of course, for Flynn, we're excited for him, his family, freedom, let him be talked about in a better light, which hopefully will be, more and more happening. He had like 1.5 million impressions of just the name Flynn today.
I saw
on
that.
Twitter. Yeah, it was crazy. For him to be able to finish that mission. And if anything, going through all this stuff is going to justify it even more. Because he's like, well, I was about to do this, or I was in the middle of doing it. Here's the evidence. And then I get targeted, is that a coincidence? So
no coincidence.
Exactly. In this case, I will definitely say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's tying that all together. I want to see what he could talk about, because he's talked about a lot of stuff. He's talked about, the previous administration being, somewhat connected to ISIS, or at least allowing it to happen. Then we had Trump say that they found it. So
yes.
It's very exciting times when he can talk and talk freely.
Yeah. Now, Whistler Wynn said this is old news. We knew this a year ago. I've never heard Sidney Powell say that. Not that specifically. We knew that General Flynn was most likely going to be helping to clean up, and they targeted him as a result of that. But please, if you're in the chat and you already knew about that, good for you. You're a great researcher. But never forget, we have people here who have never heard this information before, who didn't understand why the government was going after General Flynn. And I think that there's an extreme possibility that there are people out there on the left who still don't understand, and who very possibly, as a result of all of this coverage, are going to go out and start doing their own research and determining that, yes, in fact, the intelligence community and elements of the FBI and the DOJ and the federal government itself were working to undermine President Trump by going after key people in his incoming administration so that they could then remove them and then go after President Trump. Never take it for granted that everyone knows this, because not everyone does. We have a real responsibility here on this channel. This is what I believe. We have an extreme responsibility to safeguard these people and shepherd them into this fold, because there are so many people out there who are still asleep. I got so angry today. I was looking through the General Flynn trending on Twitter, and I couldn't believe how many just liberal media hacks out there were saying that, oh, yawn, this is no big news. General Flynn lied to the FBI. He got what he deserved. I don't feel bad for him. Let me pull this up, okay? I'm just going to pull up my own tweet, all right? Because I want you guys to see this, because when you look at it, the totality of this, it's shocking, all right? And it should shock everyone. All right, so let's take a look. For all these liberal media hacks claiming General Flynn deserves what he got. Number one, the FBI broke protocol by ambushing him during the transition period. Number two, they openly discussed the prospect of forcing him into a lie to prosecute and remove him. 3, they did not believe he lied, yet charged him anyway. 4, they threatened his family with prosecution if he didn't cop a plea. 5, they withheld exculpatory information proving his innocence. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Despite believing his innocence, they used the power and might of the federal government against a 33-year combat veteran, an American hero, because they knew he planned to gut the intelligence apparatus controlling Washington. General Flynn is the plug in the drain of the deep state. And as we await additional revelations from the thousands of pages still being declassified, the evidence will show that your desperate attempts to exonerate yourselves from your abhorrent treatment of a great man will go in vain. You, the liberal media fake news, are guilty of sedition. They played an active role in trying to destroy this man and in trying to overthrow the legally and lawfully elected president of the United States. These people were in concert with the intelligence community, with the holdovers in the administration, in the administrative branch of the federal government. They are trying to exonerate themselves now that this evidence is coming out. They treated this man horribly, okay? They actively worked to make him appear to be treasonous. They defamed him on national television. They made fun of his son, okay? General Flynn was forced into doing what he did because he was willing to save his family and to save his country. But I think he knew exactly what was going to happen. I think that he knew that this road would eventually lead here because he believed in the power of this American system. And I believe he believed in President Trump and his ability to place people in the administration in key areas. This is the biggest news of the decade, okay? Until we get to what they did to President Trump. It just is going to continue to snowball from here. So it's important that we present all this information and make sure that people are aware, because if you're out there and you just found my channel and you had no idea that the American government could do this to a hero, to a combat veteran, welcome. I'm glad to have you. I think it's really important that we talk to people and make sure that they feel welcomed.
Yeah, and my 2 cents on all that too, because I get a lot of those comments about, we already knew this, or I'll even get the yawn, or my least favorite / favorite one is I quit. I'm quitting till I see it rest. And I get that if it's true or not, or if it's a shill just trying to bring negativity, because that's what we see on the boards and stuff, that's fine. But the question that you need to ask yourself, if you're going to quit until you see something happen, I would say, shouldn't we have been doing all this work all along? Shouldn't we already be putting every piece out there for the world to see? And like what Red Pill said, if you've seen it before, that's fine, but we're going to put all the pieces out there. We're trying to keep history intact. How quickly do they change history? Within minutes on the media when they're changing headlines, and we catch them with the side-by-sides. We have to keep history intact, and the history is being created right now, because we're going to have to explain to future generations what happened. So we're putting out these pieces, whether they're new to us or, not new to us. If anything, it justifies what we've been saying for a while. We're going to keep putting this information out there. And if you already knew, if anything, be proud that you're ahead of the game, but make sure that you're also sharing that information to other people, because you don't know who's going to have their mind blown because they didn't know that. So that's why we just try to put out everything that we find that we don't see out there, or help share what's being found. That's what this movement's all about. And like I said, we should have been doing this all along.
Absolutely.
Because how else we might not have gotten into this mess as bad as we have been if we were more awake, or at least covering things how we have been.
And I'm just putting my Twitter handle. It's just at redpill78, and then Methods is at M2Madness, and you can find us there on Twitter and read our tweets. All right, I need to say thank you to Lynn Owens. She said, thank you so much to both of you for sharing the time with us every day. This is my favorite hour of the day. Hit that like button, people. Yeah, excellent opportunity to remind people we've got just over 4,400 people here. We've got just about 1.8 thousand likes. If you guys wouldn't mind, if you think that there's some value to the programming that we bring you free every single day, then please hit that like button, share it on your favorite social media platform, and help us reach more people. Deborah Little, thank you for joining as a member. Francis Schluss, thank you for that super chat. Sammy Q Patriot, what's up, Sammy? Safe travels, Red Pill 78, and I hope you have a wonderful visit with real Red Pill 78 girlfriend. Can't wait for the show with X22, and hello to Methods too. Definitely looking forward to it. JG, thank you for that. True Grit, look at Secretary Pompeo's tweet to Senator Liawatha. Okay, we'll check it out. RockDoc78, thank you for joining as a member. And Julie D said, just followed you on Twitter, but the notification bell is grayed out. You can't set the notification. That is insane. I've never heard that one before.
They've been doing that a lot recently to people. It'll just turn off for a while or something like that. And a quick shout out to our boy Woke Societies. He's in the chat. I'll be on his channel next Tuesday evening. I'll be putting out that information over the weekend. But hey, buddy, happy you're here.
Ford Nation says he signed up for a Twitter account yesterday, followed us and a bunch of other people, never even commented, and his account is already suspended. And yes, you do hear a cat. So, come here, Simone.
Yeah. Hey, man, the struggle's real out there when it comes to the censorship stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of us who have been around before, especially using old accounts that we had for a long time, I think they kind of slipped through the cracks. But anybody making new accounts, I feel for y'all out there because you're censored from the jump.
Yeah.
And so that's why we always try to take time every once in a while, at least, to, highlight accounts or make sure you at least share the information. When the smaller account finds it and you don't see it anywhere else, share it from them, help them grow, because that's how we got started.
Yes.
People gave us a chance, gave us credit for that. That's how me and Red Pill met, was he was giving credit to my tweets.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was watching my followers grow and I was like, who's covering me? And then I go over and I hear about this channel called Red Pill 78. And that's how we became friends, was through that. And I can't remember, who was it that told you about my account?
Well, I found your account because I was looking for coverage on Q early on, and my account was named something different, and because we met, and then we followed each other. I followed you, and I had retweeted your stuff, and I was commenting, and you followed me back. I think you had less than 10,000 followers at that time, and we just chatted. I asked you for your opinion on some stuff because I said I trusted your judgment, and then and then I changed my entire Twitter to something else, and then and then you realized that I was covering you.
Right. But I mean, that's to the point of it. It's really exciting to watch, these accounts grow and stuff, and we'll want to see everybody doing that. I'm excited to see, Tron last night went live for the first time on his channel.
Sweet.
Yeah, he had the boys on. I told him to call it Table of Tron. He didn't do it. But yeah, he's doing live streams and channels like Woke Societies and stuff. It's really exciting to see this going on.
Very cool. Also need to say thank you, Gino. Gino said, when will Uncle Joe have to answer his female accusers? The mainstream media has been absurdly silent on the matter. Oh yeah, and what about his dealings in China? The mainstream media is complicit in these cover-ups. Much love, RP, M3, and chat. I don't know if Joe is ever going to be forced, unless maybe he is deposed and brought into, a situation where he's testifying. Baby Love said,
I had an article that I can't open because it's Business Insider, but apparently his team is refusing to release the documents from when Tara Reid worked for him.
Yes, I actually had some coverage on let me pull that up right now, because that makes sense to just talk about it real quick.
Right, as long as we wrap it back around to the Flynn stuff going on with what Technofog was covering.
Okay, well, actually, that's what I had pulled up next, but we'll talk about Uncle Joe in just a minute. But Baby Love 78, I hope Dylan from Education for Liberals sues Twitter hard. I can't believe they axed his new account in less than 24 hours. Unfortunately, I was not all that surprised, but I hope he does sue them. Then Gaffer, not every day red pill. Every day is a red pill day for someone new to the movement. Hashtag where we go, one we go all. Thanks, buddy. Glad you're here. All right, so some new revelations from the documents, which I don't believe anybody knows, unless you've seen Technofog's tweet, but there was an additional operation that specifically was targeting General Flynn. It was called Crossfire Razor.
Yeah, and I'm dropping the link in the chat so you guys can follow along.
Now, what's interesting is that by February 14th of 2017, the FBI field office had found no derogatory information on Flynn, and they decided to close Razor. But on January 4th, not January 14th. On January 4th as well, FBI leadership Peter Strzok went off the rails and targeted Flynn, told whoever it was to not close Razor down. Now, we've got some actual documentation here. This is the communication from the FBI ordering that Crossfire Razor be closed because there's no reason to have it open because General Flynn had done nothing wrong. And then you have text messages between Peter Strzok and somebody else who is redacted. And it says, hey, don't close Razor. He doesn't want it closed because he knows that if General Flynn is not basically destroyed, then he will be destroyed and his cohorts will be destroyed. All of the secret stuff they've got going on is going to be exposed and they're going to go to prison. Well,
Yeah, this was before Mueller.
Yes.
This was before everything.
And before the inauguration, yeah.
Right now, yeah, exactly. This is under the Obama admin. This all falls under that stuff. So you kind of have to just go back and look at the time period itself, because they kept this on. Now, if they knew this back then, why is Flynn still dealing with this stuff in 2020?
Yeah. They kept it silent. They knew for the entire length of this, saga that he was innocent. They knew that there was no predicate to what they were doing, and they went ahead and they did it anyways. Not only is it upsetting to me that an American hero could be targeted in this manner, but that the rights of the American people could be trampled on to such a degree. I mean, it really goes to show the level of corruption that existed, and I'm hoping is not going to be a part of the government going forward. Now, the FBI field office, it says FBI and U.S. government, could it be the clowns in America? No derogatory information, no longer a viable candidate as part of the Crossfire Hurricane case. And Stroke says that the 7th floor is involved in terms of not closing Operation Razor. 7th floor, I'm sure you guys remember the 7th floor group. 7th floor group has been exposed in the posts previously. And I mean, it is essentially the very heart of the deep state, or what it was at that time. And I'm trying to remember the first story that I saw about this.
Well, while you're pulling that up, if anybody was listening, and I put out both parts on my Twitter, of Trump talking about Flynn earlier. He's referring to the top. He refers to the scum, corrupted cops at the top of the FBI. This is what we're talking about here. That Strzok's like, hey guys, the people above us are saying, they're involved in this. Don't close this investigation into Flynn yet. So this is where the knowingly stuff happens, because they were closing the case because they didn't have anything on him. And then they knowingly took it forward without any other information.
Right. Okay, so it was in an FBI release from Hillary's email where it referred to the shadow government. So they would meet on the 7th floor of the Harry S. Truman building. And this was kind of like a group of different spooks within the intelligence community, not only the FBI, but some people from the State Department. It was essentially this covert group of people that were running the country from the 7th floor of this building. And they were making the decisions, and then they were getting handed down in other places. But this is something that President Trump disbanded early on. As soon as he learned about it, they were pretty much gone right after that. Son of a Green Card said the clips of POTUS that Methods posted hit the nail on the head. I haven't even had time to watch them.
I'm dropping the links. Yeah, it's like almost 4 minutes long. I had to split it up because Twitter hates people that aren't verified. But it definitely you get to hear it, and knowing what we know and what we've been talking about here with this operation, or Hurricane, or what was it called? Something Razor.
Crossfire Razor?
Crossfire Razor. I got all these names mixed up.
Yeah.
Listening to him, he's known this stuff for so long, and he's referring to things like Flynn will become better than he was before. He's in the process of being exonerated. He says, I'm also hearing that more is about to come out. Now, we're hearing that too. Apparently, the information that's going to be released, and this is probably part of it with this Crossfire Razor, but they've got a lot more. It's going to make everything before it just pale in comparison, just like the notes we got yesterday, with Prestap's notes, those kind of things, which we haven't even touched base on, have we, today?
No. I mean, we're going to do that right now. But first of all, I'm sure you guys remember James Baker, the former FBI general counsel. Well, it's been reported by Joe DeGenova in an interview that James Baker has flipped. This is something that has been spoken about before, and I was looking through the posts to see if there was information about James Baker, anything other than fired or reportedly resigned. But what we are seeing, and what we've seen many times in several different posts, is that Bill Priestap, who was the former head of FBI counterintelligence, he was Peter Strzok's boss, he has been a cooperating witness for some time. Now, it's actually Bill Priestap's notes that were turned over yesterday, just the first part of this package of information. And we were thinking about, the nature of these notes. I mean, Bill Priestap is discussing the fact that they, asking, are we looking to, do an investigation, or are we trying to force him to lie so that we can, get him fired or prosecute him? To me, they appeared to be the notes of someone trying to CYA. It would be really obvious to somebody like Bill Priestap, the head of counterintelligence, that the way they were going about this investigation was absolutely and completely illegal. It was outside the bounds of protocol, and it was, a violation of General Flynn's rights. So I think that this is just a theory, but I think that he took those notes in an effort to make sure that someday, if the good guys did get back into power, that he would be able to go back and say, look, I was forced into this. Here is the proof. I'm now a cooperating witness, so let me help.
That's how it reads, too, because the biggest thing that we were laughing about yesterday on Twitter, and then us talking behind the scenes, was how stupid was it to take those kind of notes. We're laughing hard about it, and it didn't make sense. But when we talked about it in pre-show, the idea of taking those notes, okay, where the writing's on the wall, that this plan of removing Trump might not work. You're caught up in things. Let's say that he's blackmailed. I don't know the background story on him, and a lot of us wouldn't know anyways. To create those notes is that, his own insurance policy to hand over after the fact. And if you tie it into what our favorite Anon said, is that he's been cooperating. So that's why we could say things. Which would make things like Patriots in Control, or when people think that our favorite Anon could see the future. Well, they would know the future if they know the playbook.
Exactly. Now, it was reported previously, Sidney Powell had said that the first round of stuff was going to be James Baker's notes. So perhaps Bill Priestap, took these notes and then handed them over to James Baker, and he held on to them. But True Grit in the chat reminded me of Post 2157, where it's Panic in D.C., James Baker testifying against Comey. So I knew that I had heard that James Baker had been a cooperating witness at some point in the past. I truly believe that's what's happening. I mean, you got to admit, these people have self-preservation in mind, probably more than anything else. Over and above whatever contempt they have for President Trump, they probably want to make sure that they can survive and that their families and themselves are not deleted off the face of the earth. So put yourself in the position of somebody like a Bill Priestap or a James Baker, and you've got upper-level management, your direct boss, coming to you and saying, this is what we want to do. We want to entrap General Flynn. We want to F Flynn so we can F Trump, and then we want to take the country back. They've already been in power for decades, okay? As long as you've been in your position at the FBI or at the DOJ. So, what are you going to do? You're going to buck the system? Are you going to be a hero and get you and your family killed? Especially considering that perhaps these people are already of low moral character. I think it's pretty likely to think that they were going along to get along. And I know that Q has said in the post before that there were many people who were just following orders. When it's the difference between, losing your family, losing your livelihood, having your career destroyed, and the people that you go against, basically making sure that you can never work in government or in, whatever industry it is ever again. These people were probably forced to do what they were doing. Now, that doesn't mean that other people like Peter Strzok and Lisa Page weren't just actively involved in it because they hated President Trump so much and they wanted to do everything they could to get rid of him. Peter Strzok was involved at another level, I believe.
I totally agree. And I mean, any of these people, if they are, snakes, if we want to consider any of them that, to see them flip real quick to save themselves, no honor among thieves type stuff, it would make sense.
Yeah. Now, another big question that's come up in the last 24 hours is, where is Christopher Rea? So Jim Jordan specifically was speaking on Fox and Friends this morning, and he said that Christopher Rea just testified. Like, he was just there like a couple weeks ago or, maybe a month or so, and he had nothing to say about any of this stuff. Well, I want to remind everyone that if this evidence is if this exculpatory information is being used as evidence to collect indictments and to, have a grand jury process to create these indictments, it's not something that could be released. Christopher Rea would not be at liberty to release it, and given the nature of ongoing investigations, he couldn't have said anything about it. I think that Christopher Rea's reaction and the things he does and says in the upcoming days and weeks are going to be far more important than anything we've seen up until this point. Methods, what do you think about it?
Right. I mean, if Rea is being told to basically hold down the fort, and this information that's now being released was being used in other situations, like what our favorite Anon has been saying, that the same evidence to free Flynn is indicting others, then I can see that play out. But I do also agree that we're kind of at that put up or shut up, or put up or quit or be fired Rea.
Right.
I haven't, been that impressed with him. But if it were to come out, let's say Rea just does a press conference and says everything we want to hear this evening, are we going to have a different opinion of him? I see people saying everybody knows Ray's a bad guy, or we can't trust him. And you can't really speak for everybody on that, because I'm still withholding judgment, but I'm not exactly in his corner with pom-poms being excited for him.
No.
I'm keeping an eye on him. I want to see what he does with this stuff, because we also had Nunes this morning say all these redactions, all this information, they had to fight for 2 months about some of this information in January 2017 during this time with the Crossfire Razor thing. They had to fight for 2 months for some of this information, and they knew from the top brass of the FBI that Flynn didn't do anything wrong. He was asking who at the FBI is bottlenecking this stuff and not allowing this information to come out. But we were talking earlier, that would be a division of the FBI that would be over that, and Rea would be over all of the divisions. So do we have a snake in the grass, or is the snake at the top? And I think that, actions are going to prove that, hopefully here soon.
Yeah, I mean, Rea is the top of the pyramid, okay? And then you've got all these division heads reporting to him underneath. And then you've got, other management tiers underneath those division heads working with individual agents, working on individual projects. So, at the end of the day, Christopher Rea doesn't walk into the FBI, which has over 35,000 employees, mind you. He doesn't walk into the FBI and say, I want to specifically unredact this information and put it out for the public. I mean, there is a process. There's like a chain of events that has to take place. And maybe at the end of the day, Christopher Rea puts his signature on something, but he's overseeing a just incredibly large bureaucratic organization. And he relies on other people below him to take care of many different things, day-to-day stuff. Sheila Garrett says it wasn't just Trump and Flynn. They are after America and all of us. Yes, that is very true. And Sherry Hill had said is Method single, but she retracted it because he's married.
I'm coming up on my 9-year anniversary.
Oh, good stuff.
I'm very much in love with my wife, but thank you for asking out there. But no, I am definitely married.
Also Jim Jordan, when he was weighing in on these recently released documents, which again is just the tip of the iceberg, there's so much more to come, he said Durham is coming. And that's also something that was tweeted out by, I believe, was it the Senate GOP or the Judiciary GOP? Official Twitter account. Durham is coming. So, I mean, this is happening, guys. I mean, John Durham is about to help clean up the leftovers here in Washington and bring these people to justice. It's going to be an incredible thing to see. I'm so excited about it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I know that we're getting close to the end of the show, but I've seen a few people bring it up.
Yeah.
As far as Roger Stone goes.
Yes.
We were researching it in the pre-show, and all we know so far is that he put in his appeal on the case because he wanted a new trial and he's trying to appeal everything. And I know that Jack Pacific, all his credible glory, said that he was given it for the 30-day appeal. I couldn't find any sauce on that. Maybe it's dropped since the show started. But as of now, Roger is appealing the situation. Because what is he supposed to turn in today?
Yeah, he was due to report to prison today. Let's see.
I mean, we tried to look, but we couldn't find anything except that he was appealing.
No. And Nick Martin, I got your email, buddy. I saw you say something in the chat and it just popped up on my phone. Also, John Astorius says Trump dropped an executive order today ordering selected service to reserve to active duty. Selected reserves are the first weekend, 2 weeks a year, guys. Oh, 1 weekend, 2 weeks a year. Yep, that was like the first thing we talked about, John, but thank you, buddy. If you've got any theories on what that means, then I definitely would like to know about it. We were considering the fact that we have these new narcotics operations that are taking place in the Western Hemisphere. President Trump has something to do with that. We need more people. The order states no more than 200 reservists at any time, which is perfect for additional special forces teams in the counter-narc ops going on. Yep, okay, sweet. We were right on it.
And we have a lot of people in chat saying that he was given the 30 days. He's got 30 days to turn himself in. If we find anything on that, we'll cover it later.
Most definitely.
But thanks, guys. If that's true, thank you guys for letting us know.
All right. And then Z Woodtick Mike says, everyone wants indictment list in Hollywood. Start the fun. Lists just watched and Vandersteel. Hope the info is correct. If this is the information that's been going around, I can't verify the legitimacy of it. It's information that makes sense if it's true, but I find it hard to believe that in this Justice Department, with the sensitive nature of these cases, I find it difficult to believe that it would be leaked, because they've been really, really good at not allowing information like that to leak. Let's see. Diane Rain says, I can't super chat. Love you both. To less support YouTube after show, I'll hit you both on PayPal. Okay. Well, Diane, we appreciate that. And, however you guys want to support the channel, it means a lot. And just the fact that you guys are here, liking and sharing the broadcast, anybody who's dropping in methods or my PayPal, we really appreciate it, because we do have to keep the lights on, and I don't ever try to solicit donations from you guys, because I just don't feel right about it.
Yeah, and everything that we will always do will always be free regardless.
Yes.
Just click the like button, share the show. That's the best way you can support us. But we have those options available because there are things that we want to accomplish. Like, I'm about to upgrade my entire system, computer wise, so we can do even more stuff with that. But yeah, the best thing you guys can do is just hang out with us. We love the time with you. Click that like button, share the shows when you see them. And, we always just want to keep the content free regardless of what you do about it.
That's right. There will never be a paywall. John says 19th and 20th Special Forces groups out of California and Arkansas would need that order to operate. Okay, good stuff. One more thing. I had somebody send me an email that said that they were getting like a 50-minute non-skippable ad in the middle of my video. Sometimes when an ad comes up, it won't show the skip button for like 15 or 20 seconds. Make sure that that's the case. If it's not the case and you can get a screen capture of the fact that it's a non-skippable ad, I would really appreciate knowing that. I've heard things about that before, but the people that I talked to said that they found it hard to believe that YouTube would ever do that, because then people just wouldn't want to watch the videos. They want people to watch the videos because obviously they're trying to sell advertising space on it. All right, guys. Well, that is the end of our program. I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming here and hanging out with us today. General Flynn will be exonerated officially in very short order. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens. Don't forget, tonight at 6 o'clock, I'll be back with my daily news roundup. We're going to be talking about the recovery of America and how President Trump saved the food chain. A lot of people have been really worried about that lately. Methods, as always, thank you for being with me, brother. Yeah,
appreciate it, man. Much love to you. Much love to everybody in the chat. Safe travels to you while you go to visit your lady. Shout out to your girlfriend.
Thank you.
And another show in the books. Everybody have a great night tonight, and we'll be back at this tomorrow afternoon.
All right, and then tomorrow night at 10 p.m., show up again for the Friday night live stream with my friends Deb and Scott, and we're going to be talking about Nasara and spiritual warfare. We'll see you guys then.